Jason, I'm using a different microphone today, and I spent an embarrassingly long time trying to get it to work.
Really? I mean, you sound great.
Yeah, so I plugged this mic in to my computer, and I'm trying to use it and like getting it to work, trying to unmute it in software and like, monitor it, listen to it, like try it in 3 different programs. It's not working. I don't understand. And like everything looks good. I like switched the USB cable on it, like the whole thing. And then finally I look at the microphone itself, and guess what? It has a little switch on it.
Oh, like an actual physical switch.
Like a physical like switch that slides up and down. That's like a mute switch for the microphone.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I turn that on and it just works.
Amazing how that happens.
I know. So that was my...
Is there a light on it to indicate that it's muted?
No, there's a light on it to indicate that it has power.
Yeah, but you got to be looking at the switch otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the light only tells you that it's plugged in and has power. It doesn't actually tell you that like, it's muted or not. Well, I don't think so. I don't know. I should try it and see. Yeah, totally. The switch does not do... No, it does not change anything. The light does not change color. It doesn't... No.
Did you not know it had a switch?
I mean, like, it's kind of a prominent switch. Like, I can see that the switch is there. It just... my normal microphone doesn't have a switch. So I didn't think about the fact that there's a switch on this one.
I'm glad you got it figured out. This mic sounds great, though.
Yeah, it's a nice little mic. It's the ATR 2100X USB microphone. And it's got both XLR and USB-C outputs, very specifically USB-C.
Oh, I like that. Mine's got micro, and it's not good.
Yeah, no, I am all in on the USB-C future. Micro USB can phase out anytime it wants.
I mean, it mostly has. I would say it's basically there, but I've got like 2 or 3 devices left that have micro USB, and I dislike when I have to charge every one of them.
I need to get a USB-C to micro USB directly with a cable, so that then when my entire universe switches over to USB-C in the next like year, I can only take USB-C shaped cables on the one end.
Yeah, I haven't found a like set of cables yet that really I've settled on that is USB-C only. At least on the side that plugs into the charging end. I was really trying to convert to that, but it feels not possible fully yet.
What's the hang up? What's the thing that you can't, other than phone?
Well, phone, sure, but you can still get a USB-C to lightning cable phone. The biggest problem that I run into is that I find that there aren't like charging bricks with only like USB-C plugs where there are more than 2 plugs in them. Whereas if you get a USB-A charging brick, you can get like 6 like ports.
I think the reason for that is because USB-C delivers a lot more power, or it can deliver a lot more power. So nobody is making the like what we would consider fast charge for USB-A, like regular USB fast charging, which is like really slow by USB-C standards. And so I think that there's just not a supermarket for like a bunch of 20-watt USB-C ports compared to...
Well, fine, but give me the USB-C charging brick that has like 4 slots on it, right? 4 ports on it. 2 of them labeled, 40 watt and 2 of them labeled 20 watt, and call it a day.
They make those. They exist.
I need one.
I'll send you some links.
Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 106. Jason, today we have a lot to talk about, or at least a lot of games to talk about.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting couple of weeks.
Yeah, so when last we left our heroes, I was looking forward to Pikmin 4, which has come out since our last episode published, and I have played a decent bit of, but not finished it. But also, there have been like 3 other things that have come out in the last 2 weeks that somehow one or both of us have been playing.
I find it very funny that we have not talked about, I think, either of these games that I want to talk about at all leading up to them coming out. They kind of took me and our friend group by storm. One of them, totally understandable, right? Remnant 2 has kind of taken the whole world by storm. I don't know if it's Game of the Year contender, but it's up there. It's one of those major kind of releases of the summer. And then the other one, and we'll talk about both today in a little bit more detail, but our friend group, our like one Discord, has just been enthralled with Exoprimal.
Yeah, this has been the surprise of the year, I would say. That this little game, well, I don't know if it's little, but this game about dinosaur tower defense. I don't know, not really tower defense, but like, I have no idea how to describe this thing. It's like dinosaur Overwatch.
I mean, and the fact that you can't describe it is perfect. It's exact. Like anytime anyone asks, "What is Exoprimal?" I'm just like, you're killing hordes of dinosaurs, and you're racing against another team who's trying to do the same thing. And everyone's just like, that sounds really stupid, and I'm just like, yeah, but it's an accurate description. And so when we first got into Exoprimal, we're thinking that in our head, right? We're all sitting there. We're just like, okay, well, it's included on Game Pass, best deal in gaming. Download Exoprimal. I was fully expecting to play Exoprimal and be like, this game is dumb. I'm not playing this game. And we played for our first time, and we ended that session saying, yeah, okay, we're going to play this again. And I was so surprised by that fact, right? I was so surprised by liking it enough to say, yeah, we're going to spend more time in this. We're going to spend more time in this game.
Yeah, I was kind of giving it a few sessions for you guys before I kind of tried to, get into it and like play it and go through the tutorial and all of that stuff. Just because I wanted to see if it would stick before I kind of invested, and I've been very surprised that it has stuck. And I played the very long tutorial, although I skipped all of the cutscenes. Don't at me. And then I've played a couple of rounds with you guys, and it is surprisingly fun, I'll say.
The game itself, the actual core game, is pretty fun. And that's like at its base, right, at its foundation, it's a pretty fun game. It's not a smart game. It's not a terribly difficult game. It's not a, super strategic game. It's not, there's no like element of it that sets it apart, but there's also no element that makes it like anything else. And I someone said this in one of the times we were playing, is like, I can't compare it to any one other game, right? It's got some elements of Overwatch and obviously, and honestly, it ripped off of some of the heroes from Overwatch, like almost exactly. Like there's a character within Exoprimal that we just call Junkrat. We literally call the character Junkrat because it is the same ultimate, same weapon, same everything, right? And so those things are kind of pulled from other games, but those are good elements of Overwatch. I would say the hero design in Overwatch is actually pretty good. So pull it from Overwatch. And there's a like PvE VP element to it, right? So you're doing a lot of PvE objectives, but there are times when the enemy team can attack and interrupt and whatnot. And I think that pulls the best element of Gambit from Destiny, right? Like the PvE VP element of Gambit like was so fun when it went well, right? When it was balanced, when it, the teams were well put together. But those elements of that game, now Gambit, is really, it hasn't really stood the test of time because they haven't really given it attention, but the core fundamental of that was a fun idea, and it does that. Exoprimal does some of that. Everything else about the game, the story's okay, but the way it's told, the UI is garbage, hot garbage.
Yes.
And but like the core, when you take all of that else away and you just say, listen, we're just going to play, we're just going to have fun. We don't have really we're trying to win, but like whatever. It's just a fun game at its core. And that's why, honestly, I think that's why we have come back night after night and played. I think it's been a total of like 6 to 8 times now with a team of 3 or more people.
Wow. That is a good like multiplayer game because it's a 5-player squad game. Like a full squad is 5, like Overwatch now. I agree with you that it's like all these things. I don't know if I like the PvEVP bits of it because I've only played a few times and it feels like as soon as we like meet the other team, if we're kind of evenly matched, I get completely rocked. Like I don't know kind of what to do. Like I usually end up dead very, very quickly because the other team gets some giant dinosaur, we get some giant dinosaur, and like we have to kill their giant dinosaur before they kill ours or something. It's a little bit hectic at the end, and I mean it is cool. Like it's well designed, but it's not super well communicated to me kind of what the exact objective is. But I'm also, like I said, I skipped like all of the everything I could to kind of get into the game as fast as I could.
I will also say you don't get the rhythm of the game in four games, right?
Fair.
In 4 matches. I think I'm up probably up to 50 or 60 matches total now. And it starts to make sense, right? And I will say that the games that we played with you, particularly, we seemed to have kind of get our faces punched in a little bit, which doesn't feel good, right? Particularly when you're playing for the first time. But overall, the amount of time that I've played, it's been pretty well balanced on the number of wins, the number of losses. And I would say in those 50 or so games that I've played, maybe 5 of them were very, very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that about a game, right, to have that's always the objective in matchmaking, right, is to have close wins or close losses, right? Because even when you lose and it's close, you're just like, oh man, that was a great game. That's how I feel. That's a great game. I hate losing, but like it was well balanced and I felt good about that. And I've had a lot of those in Exoprimal. And I don't know if that's just because like it's either really well balanced or because everyone's still learning how to play and no one really knows yet. I don't know where it comes from. But I think that has added to the replayability for me is that we get so many good games. 10% in very, very close matches is a really, really high rate. I think back to like my Rocket League days, and can I say that 10% of matches were like within a goal?
Yes, I think they were. I think Rocket League, I think they were probably mostly within 1 to 2 goals. I mean, like it's unlikely that you have 8 to 5 or whatever, in terms of score. Like,
all right, well then let me adjust my claim then. Think of another shooter that you get 10% of your matches close games.
Okay, I'll give you that for shooters, but yeah, Rocket League not so much. If you play the game all the way to the end in Rocket League.
Yeah. I got better about forfeiting.
Uh-huh.
I don't think Exoprimal is here to stay. I don't think it's a long-term game for us or for anyone. I think it's going to be one of those team-based tactic fight, shooters that fizzles out within a year or two. It's not free to play, which is amazing to me. It is on Game Pass, right? So it's included in that. But if you wanted to buy it on Steam, it's $60. Do not spend $60 on this game.
No, don't spend $60 on this game. Just subscribe to Game Pass, even at $15 a month for 4 months up to, because you're not going to play for more than 2 months. So save your money.
Yeah. Get Game Pass for other reasons. But like if you wanted to play some Exoprimal because you have Game Pass, I think it's a great game to boot up. I think it's a great game to try out. It's way, 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 way more fun with friends. Like, I don't know that I would, even at this point, like, I played Exoprimal a little bit alone to, like, kind of get the story going and play a couple matches and whatnot. But at this point, like, I've been playing long enough now where I have no drive to play Exoprimal alone But if other people were like, hey, let's all get in a match together, I'm still good. I'm still good to go. I think that's going to last maybe another week or two. I really don't think it's going to last much longer.
I would hop in anytime, somebody's playing and I'm available. Like it's a fine little hop in, do a couple rounds. Because that's the other piece is it has such low friction, I would say, to games other than the kind of long matchmaking sometimes and like loading. But it's not, I don't know, it's not as Overwatch is now. Overwatch has just excruciating queues at this point. So like it's easy for Exoprimal just to like jump in, play like 2-3 rounds and then be like, yeah, okay, that was fun. Let's go do something else.
Yeah, and they're like, 10, 15-minute rounds. I will say the matchmaking feels really fast to me. The load times seem really slow. Like, I feel like when we go into matchmake, it's always within 30 seconds. You find a match. But then sometimes you can take up to like a minute or two to load into the starting zone, and then it's another minute or two before the game starts. And that's the excruciating part for me, is that it just takes forever to like actually get into some action and gameplay. The other side of it is, and I don't know if you felt this in the couple of games you played, but the way that we've played so far, there are like 2 rounds. And each round has either a set of objectives or a series of stages. The first round is essentially a sprint. It is an all-out sprint. And there doesn't seem to be very much that sets people or teams apart from each other in round one. Round one almost always feels like a waste, right? It is like 8 minutes of just charging your super, right? So that's been a little weird. At the same time, the more you play Exoprimal, and this is the part that like keeps me coming back just a little bit, is there are more and more and more kinds of objectives that can get kind of randomly loaded into the game, right? I talked about those stages in phase 1. Each of those stages can kind of be a random objective. A lot of times it's what's called a dinosaur call, where you have to kill so many of a certain kind of dinosaur, and then you get to move on to the next objective. Some of them are defense missions, and you keep moving on. Some of them are like kill and collect, kill confirm. Some of them are, escort, right? You have an escort type. If you get into the PvP side of things, there's capture the flag or king of the hill type style. Like there's so many different kind of random objectives that can get loaded in, but they come and get introduced so slowly. So your first like 20 matches are just going to be dinosaur calls, where you kill the required number of dinosaurs and you do that over and over and over again. And then you load into phase 2 and you do an escort mission, and it is the same thing every time. And what I've heard, and I haven't been able to confirm this, and they really don't tell us, but what I can seem to tell is that they unlock those other objective types based on the lowest level person in the match. And that is just a terrible way to do it, in my opinion, because as we've done, right? I played and 2 of my friends played on the first night, right? We leveled up to a certain point. We kind of got a little further. We unlocked some things. But then we invited a new guy on the next night, right? Now we're a team of 4, but the new guy is brand new. So it starts all of that progress over from a, like unlocking objective standpoint. And it doesn't tell you when things are unlocked. It doesn't like show you like, oh, you've not unlocked a new objective type. Like we don't have any actual progress bars or indications. It's just that we start to feel the game become a little bit more different, have a little bit more variety. And then the next night, you show up, and we don't want to like discourage you, because playing with friends and having a full stack of 5 is so much fun. But then we went through like your newness, right? And we had to like get you kind of leveled up and to start to see variety. I think in your match, like your first 2 were very, very vanilla. And then I think in your third match, we started to have some defense. Is that right?
Yeah, we had the like defend the point from the dinosaurs mission, where you all have to like stand around and like protect the little spire.
Yeah, that variety starts to sneak in a lot of matches. There's one match, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, little not. But like there was one match where we were playing with all kind of people that had been playing for at least like 20 or so hours, had quite a few matches under their belt. And we got this like objective that at the end it was essentially a dinosaur call, but there was like a little cutscene to it where they opened up a rift and there was just a gigantic waterfall of dinosaurs coming out. Like not like the typical like, oh, we're going to open a rift and spawn a couple dinosaurs, right? It was like it panned your camera, right? It forced you to pan your camera and look at this like rift that it opened up over the city and just kept dumping dinosaurs. And instead of like having to kill 100 raptors, we had to kill 1,000 raptors and they never stopped coming. And that was cool. It was so much fun to experience that like newness in the game. And like, it was the same thing. We're still killing dinosaurs, right? But it added this like thing that like increased the intensity of it because it was something different and new. And all of us that were sitting there were like, oh my God, we've just played 40 matches of this game. And now in match number 41, there's this brand new kind of like element, this brand new objective that does it in a very cool way. It makes it feel epic. And I want to experience more of that. It's just such a slow drip.
Yeah, it definitely feels to me like one of these games that's trying really hard to be really clever. And you don't want that as a player. You're just like, let me kill more dinosaurs in different and interesting ways. And I kind of get that vibe. It reminds me a little bit, because after every match that I've played, because I've only played a few matches, it tells you about like, oh, here's a new unlock system. Here's a way you can go to this screen and do this thing. And, oh, don't forget you can open loot boxes and do stuff. And I really want to spend as little time as possible in the UI because for me, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit anyway, but I've been playing it on the Xbox Game Pass streaming option where it hooks you up to some Xbox Series X in the cloud and then you play with a controller. But you play with only a controller and you can't use a mouse. So the menu system makes you move a little reticle around with the sticks of your controller and then click on stuff. So I want to spend as little time as possible doing anything in those menus. And so I really haven't done anything with the menus. But it feels like it's trying so hard to put all of these systems, in front of you. And it's just like, I don't know if I need all of these systems. Because like Overwatch has no game altering system-y things for the heroes, right? You just play rounds and like the emergent gameplay of playing against people and stuff, that's the game. Not, oh, did you, win enough V-Bucks or whatever to upgrade your person to, be able to, I don't know, fire a grenade faster or something. I don't know. I really haven't looked into it, but like it feels like it's trying to do all that stuff, and I'm not sure that that's necessary.
I will disagree with you. I think this is good. I'm glad you brought this up because I didn't plan on talking about this, but I disagree with you. I actually really like the result of kind of build or theory crafting within the certain heroes. You can put up to 3 modules on each hero. Exosuit. Sorry, you can put up to 3 modules on each exosuit. And it changes it a little bit, right? Some of them are more like tanky and healy, and some of them are more damage glass cannon kind of focused. Some of them are a little bit more like crowd control module, like they improve your crowd control. I really like that element. I think that's pretty cool. I think we've already found in our friend group that each of us play even the same exosuit. We each play it a little differently. And I have found that pretty interesting. I will agree with you, however. Remember what I said at the start of this. I liked the result of that building and that kind of putting that together. The UI and the fashion in which you are required to do that kind of configuration, hot garbage. I say, well, same thing I said before. The UI, the way you achieve that, hot garbage, no doubt. And I bet it's worse on console. I am a little surprised to hear you say that you don't like the little circle cursor, because that's exactly how Destiny 2 does it with a controller as well. And I don't find that bad or annoying. Even when I'm playing Destiny 2 with a controller. So I'm a little surprised to hear you say that it's bad here, but I can imagine a world. I have played this game enough. I can imagine a world where they implemented that very poorly.
My thing about now we're on a totally different subject here of UI in games with controllers, but my theory is if you have a UI that is comprised of buttons, the buttons have targets, right? And I should be able to navigate those like a DVD menu with a remote, right? I should be able to jump from button to button to button. Don't make me go from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen by dragging my cursor using the left stick of the controller, because it just takes so long. And then you overshoot it by a little bit because, of course, they put nice margins on it because it looks nice when you don't put the button all the way on the far edge. But then you've overshot it. Now you have to bring it back a little bit so that you're on the 20 pixel margin. And like now your reticle is actually over the button. Like just let it snap. Like just have an active thing and let it snap to the things. And I should be able to control the whole thing with the D-pad. And it should be fast and it should be easy. And it drives me nuts when it's like, oh, here's a little cursor. And when I played Destiny 2, I would be at my PC. I would put down the controller to do stuff in the menus and you pick up the mouse. Like I might prefer to shoot with the controller, but like I would switch to a mouse in order to navigate the menus if I have to deal with a reticle.
I wonder how much of that is your fidelity with a controller and how much of it is your input lag playing on Xbox Cloud.
I've never liked it. I mean, I've never preferred it. I've been able to manage it better, to your point, in other games, but like I don't like it anyway.
Yeah, and I just don't. I wouldn't say I mind it as much as you do. In any case, even if you have the precision of a mouse, their UI is hot garbage.
Understood.
So don't think it's the controller.
I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but all right, fine.
No, because I've never played this game with a controller and their UI is still hot garbage. Have I said it enough?
Do you think it's hot garbage or something? I don't know.
I think it's garbage. It's okay, though. Again, just bringing it back around. Great game, fun game. Play it. Have fun with it. Don't stress about the UI. Don't stress about the building. If you like it enough to get into it, you will fumble your way through what has to be done to do those elements of it, and the game will be more fun in the end. Have a group of people to play it with, and just enjoy kind of the round-based killing of dinosaurs in a simulation ? Pay attention to the story. I won't ruin any more than that. Okay, on a much, much lighter note, can we talk about Pikmin 4?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's do it. So I've been playing, Pikmin 4 came out, I think a week ago as we record this, and I've been playing it a decent amount. It is very much a Pikmin game, and it is very fun. That's my one-sentence review.
What makes a Pikmin game very fun? Or what makes this one in particular very fun? Whichever one you want to answer.
Okay, I'll take the first question first. A Pikmin game is fun to me because it is a very, very low stakes real-time strategy game. So the Pikmin are, little minions essentially that you can throw at stuff and have them do stuff. And so you can like throw Pikmin at item, right? Something that takes 10 Pikmin to move, and it has a little number on it. It says 10, and then you push the button 10 times, right? You throw 10 Pikmin at this thing, and they will pick it up and they will walk it back to your base. And you don't have to do anything after you put them on the thing. They know how to get home. You don't have to direct them. They just kind of do their thing and go there. You go off and do something else, right? And all of this is happening in real time, which is what really makes it a real-time strategy game. On top of all that, you have kind of a day timer, which is counting down. So like each day in the game, you can only, do so much, right? You only have so much time. And so there's kind of this like little, like very light, not super stressful tension of like, oh yeah, I got to do stuff before the day ends. And the day is kind of like, I may be giving it a little bit too much credit because in the first three, I think all three of the first three Pikmin games, the first game, you were limited to 30 days. Like the whole game was just like almost like an arcade game where you could only have 30 days total to like finish the game. I think I played it. So Pikmin 1 and 2, by the way, just came out on the Switch a month ago, as you can get them individually or as a bundle. So I got them. They were originally GameCube games, and they play great on the Switch. But I played through Pikmin 1, and I think I did it in 23 or 24 days out of the 30. I think in Pikmin 2, they took away the time limit, And then in Pikmin 3, they sort of added it back. They had this little resource system where you had to, like, I don't know, collect vegetables and fruits to make juice so that you could continue to live on the planet or something. So it was like not really a hard cap, but it was a little bit of a soft cap where you had to like keep making progress in order to kind of continue to exist. In Pikmin 4, all of that is totally gone. You can take as many days as you want, as far as I can tell. I think I'm on day like 25 or something like that. And you can, yeah, it's much more open. Like there's like a little hub world, and then from there you kind of go into the levels, and you can choose wherever you want to play, and you can go to the same place, 10 days in a row. And it's nice. Like it's a very free kind of Pikmin game, as opposed to the kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to make you have these artificial limitations. So I like that for that.
How far along in the game are you?
I don't know exactly. I think I'm probably 2/3 of the way through the main story. It feels like, I don't know. There's kind of a gimmick where it's like, oh, find all of our missing crew members or whatever. And I think I've got one left. I don't know if that's the end of the story. Like, I don't know if that's it, but that's where I am.
Why would you return to a world more than once?
In some cases you have different color Pikmin. So the different color Pikmin can do different things. And like the big one for me is blue Pikmin are the only ones that can like really do stuff in water. So in the first level, you don't have any blue Pikmin. Like the first time you go to the first level, you have no blue Pikmin. Once you get blue Pikmin, you might want to go back there because there's something on the other side of the little pond and you want to get the thing on the other side of the pond. So you need to go back.
I see. Okay. So you keep your Pikmin kind of in a more like meta sense.
Correct. Yeah. So you have this they call it an onion, but it's a little spaceship thing. And at the end of every day, there's this cute little animation where all of your Pikmin run back up the little legs of the thing into the onion, and then it all takes off into space or whatever. And then you come back the next day and you can choose the composition of the Pikmin that you pull out of the onions. So you can say like, oh, I want, 30 red ones and 50 blue ones and whatever. And then use them for the day. And you can switch them at will at any time, but you have to go back to your base to do that. So it's a little bit of a hassle. So it's good to kind of pick them in the beginning. And it gives you a recommendation. It says like, oh, the recommended composition for today is this. And you can push one button and it'll just do it for you.
So the big thing with Pikmin 4, at least in the marketing material, was a dog or dog-like creature, I guess, that is brand new to Pikmin 4. Have you found that to be, as big as it was in the marketing material, in the game?
I mean, yes, I guess, but like, yes, I guess, but like you use the dog for everything, and it's almost a little bit OP, like it's a little overpowered because you can actually ride the dog and have all of your Pikmin just like jump on the dog's back, and then it's nice because it kind of condenses your squad. One of the challenges in previous Pikmin games is you'd have up to 100 Pikmin following you, and they would follow you in like
this giant ant line,
kind of a spread out mass. And yeah, well, not necessarily, right? Sometimes it was an ant line, but sometimes it was like just a mob, like a wide mob. And you'd be like, well, I'd like to cross this narrow bridge over water right now. But the Pikmin are not quite smart enough to realize that they should really get on the bridge part of this. They'll just try to like jump into the water while they try to stay close to you. And you're just like, come on, guys. So being able to say, okay, hop on the dog, and then we're all going to just, run across the bridge together. That's nice. But it does feel a little bit kind of like, I always ride the dog. Like I just get on the dog and run around. Like, and that's a choice, but it's just so easy that it becomes the obvious choice. So I would say the dog is useful. The dog, you can upgrade him. So he has a little meta progression of his own. Like adding swimming was one of his upgrades. He has another one where he upgrades his strength. So the dog can actually count as, for me right now, it counts as 10 Pikmin. So if I have something that requires 10 Pikmin to take, I can just send only the dog, and the dog will take it back to my base, no problem. Which is kind of cool, I guess. But I don't know. I haven't found that the dog has been like a complete game changer, let's say. I mean, it has, but it's not like, if I didn't have it, I'd be fine.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So you're going to play it through a second time challenge mode without the dog?
I don't even think that's possible, but maybe. They do some stuff occasionally where they'll build up a wall. So there's like these vertical walls that you can build, and then you can climb them, but the dog can't climb them. So they use that as like a way to gate it and make sure that you don't have the dog in certain sections.
Oh, okay.
So, it's good game design. It mixes it up a little bit. They also have these different things. They have these caves where you can, hunt for treasures and find missing castaways and whatever. And then these other things, which they call Dandori battles or Dandori time things or whatever. And those are like challenge modes, I would say. Like they take away all your Pikmin and they say you have to start in this one area and you only get to use the Pikmin that you can kind of harvest from this area. And you have a time limit or whatever. And it's kind of a race against an AI. I think there's a way you can play it as a race against a person too, if you want. But I haven't done that yet. So it's, it's pretty varied and it's got a lot going on to it. The other thing that it gives you is it has completion percentages on everything. So if you're kind of a box checking completionist type person, you can be like, oh man, this cave, I'm at 96%. I need to go back in there maybe with some different colored Pikmin or, maybe with something a little bit different to get the one last treasure that's in there. So it does tell you kind of how close you are to completing everything.
Yeah, that's a Chris game right there. I understand now.
Okay, fine.
I mean, you platinum trophy everything.
I do not.
Almost everything.
I've become much more judicious about my completionist tendencies in my old age here.
But you still like to do it.
And when the gameplay loop is fun and they tell you how much you can do, I really just like to know that I'm done, right? I may or may not chase the 100% in everything, but like not feeling like I need to, I got to go back to that place one more time so that I can survey it so I can make sure that I got all the things. If the little thingy says 100%, I know I'm good.
That's true. That is nice.
I would even take that, like, because it does do that. So when you're in the caves the first time, it will tell you basically how many things you have. So just like treasures, 7 out of ? And it doesn't like tell you right then. But then when you get out, it says like, oh, your overall completion of this cave was whatever. And then it'll tell you floor by floor, like, oh, you were 100% done with this one, 50% done with that one. But it's not like it gives you the checklist up front. It kind of just gives it to you after the fact so that if you want to go back, you know how much work it is. There's also a tower defense game built into Pikmin 4, kind of. Maybe not tower defense, but it is defense. They added, so normally in Pikmin 4, in Pikmin everything, you have to play only during the day because the whole story is that like at night things are dangerous, which is why you can't stay on the planet and you have to, that's why the days matter. But this one, they added a specific mode where you play at night. And they added this kind of Pikmin they call glow Pikmin that only exist at night. And you have to survive kind of waves of enemies coming at you and you have to protect like a base. So it's kind of a different gameplay, but the same general Pikmin stuff, but like a little different game mode. And that's pretty fun. I've only done it a couple times. It's not like amazing, but it's, it mixes it up a little bit here and there.
Is it part of the core loop or is it like challenge mode or extra?
It's part of the main story. You actually need it to like progress the story. You have to do stuff to get glow sap or something that comes out of the nighttime stuff, so that you can progress the story.
That's cool.
I mean, and the story is pretty loose. Like it's not going to be, winning any Oscars for story here.
No, but it's the overall game objective.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's fun. It's definitely worth the Game Pass voucher, not Game Pass, but the game voucher that I spent on it. But it's much more of a slow burn, I would say, like a long time, because it's very pick up and put down because you can play it, 1 day session at a time. It's not as like epic as something like Tears of the Kingdom. So it's another good Switch game, but it's a different Switch game.
I would say this is exactly the review I expected. I don't know what else to say in that regard, but I watched you play the first couple of bits of it, the demo, and this is what you're saying now is exactly what I expected. Still not a game for me, probably. Not something I liked watching, and I generally like it, but it doesn't hold my interest for that slow burn. Pikmin in general. It's cute, it's fun, but I would love to play like 2 days of it, and then I'd be like, okay, I get it. The gimmick's over. Like, I don't have any will to kind of keep going.
I think it would be fun the next time that you visit to play the 2-player mode, because that is kind of like a battle where you have like, oh, get the most, things in the time limit or whatever. And that gives a little bit of competition to it. Obviously not something that you play for hours and hours and hours, but like it's, I think it would be fun.
Yeah, I would try that. Yeah, sure. Add a little, competition to it. Yeah, I'd be in.
So that's what I've been playing is a decent bit of Pikmin. What have you been up to outside of Exoprimal?
So, Pikmin 4, right?
Yes.
You described it as a RTS that is, low stress, not a big deal, right? Just kind of, playing it and having fun. I've been playing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Remnant 2 is not a low stress game.
I know nothing about this game. Like, I know that everybody's very excited about it, and I don't really understand why. I don't know what Remnant 1 really was. Is it Remnant from the Ashes? Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was Remnant 1. Yeah.
Okay. I still don't know what
Remnant
it is. But
2 is a third-person Souls-like shooter.
Okay.
Which means it is a third-person RPG-ish, RPG light, I would say, right? You do have a character that levels up, that has skills, that has gear, right? That has weapons that you can equip and level up, and an inventory of items that you can use to level up your gear and things like that, right? There's RPG elements to it. It's a shooter, right? Third person, over the shoulder, kind of guns aiming, shooter. I think Division or maybe a little Warframe, but the movement is much different than Warframe. But think third person shooter, right? Where you're never looking down a scope. I think there are certain cases where Fortnite's a great example of a third person shooter, right?
Yes.
So that, right? That's the gameplay, and it is a Souls-like because it is grueling in terms of combat, in that it is extremely punishing of mistakes, and you are expected as a part of the gameplay to learn the enemies and the bosses, right? That's the whole, when you talk about a Souls-like, that's kind of what you're talking about. You're talking about, it is difficult, but it is difficult because you are expected to kind of watch the boss, listen for sound cues, like learn the moves, learn how to avoid, the attacks, the telegraphing of the fight coming at you, and your ability to dodge, react, stun, hit a crit point to stagger, kind of those kinds of elements of the game, are extremely prominent, and make this game extremely difficult. I am playing on the easiest difficulty. I think the easiest difficulty was normal. It only goes up from there. But I'm playing on the easiest difficulty, and I will say there are a number of times that I have died that have I was trying my best. I was trying my hardest. And what I really like about the game, it is, if for normal, right? For the normal experience for me, who is not particularly good at Souls-likes, but I'm generally enjoying this, and we can talk about it. I have finished so many fights, so many boss battles, so many encounters where I am probably within 20% left of my health on very low ammo with no more revives, right? Or no more heals. And to me, that means it's extremely well balanced for what I would consider an experienced gamer, but maybe not someone who is really good at Souls-like kind of games. And that has been very rewarding. I have gotten to the end of a battle so many times where I'm saying, I need this boss to die in the next 20 shots because I have no more health and no more ammo.
Wow. That is well balanced. Like, that is cool that it's that close, I think, unless it's really stressful. In that case, maybe less so, but
it is really stressful, but it's really good because I would say, in those cases, I would say I succeed probably 75% of the time, which is the right percentage.
Sure. Yeah. It doesn't discourage, but it makes you realize that it's hard.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. The last element of Remnant 2 is put all of those things together. It is a 3-player co-op.
Oh, nice.
So you can play up to 3 people. So I would say it does make this game significantly easier when you're playing co-op because it splits the aggro and it splits all of that. So it does make it a little easier, particularly with mobs, right? Particularly with a lot of little guys rather than, the boss, because the boss is going to focus someone. So I would say it's easier when you're playing with someone else. It is also a lot of fun to talk about like what's going on, watch for this. Do you need a heal? With Souls-like, there's always kind of these, again, it's about telegraphing or learning the boss battle or learning what the boss is doing. And in these fights, right? I remember just one earlier today where we were like, what do we do? Like, we just keep dying during this one part. Like, what do we do to get past this one attack? And we had to look around and we had to analyze the arena that we were fighting in and be like, okay, do we stand behind pillars? No, there's no pillars. Okay, do we have to there's stairs over here. We probably have to jump to this other platform when that attack happens. And like that experimentation and learning and talking with other people. I mean, it's fun to do on your own, but it's much more fun to kind of experience that with other people. And it's been a really, really good game for that kind of stuff. Imagine a Souls-like. Imagine, imagine in your head, right? I don't know if you played, I didn't play it, but imagine an Elden Ring, right? Where you're kind of learning these boss battles, you're learning how it all works, but you're getting to do it with someone else. And that's been really fun. I've really enjoyed that element of it.
It's really funny that you mentioned Elden Ring because I don't know, a month ago, I had this weird curiosity about would I want to play Elden Ring? Is this something? Because I could play it on the Steam Deck and obviously it would be better on PC, but it would be playable on the Steam Deck. Oh man, it would be a Souls-like, and I don't really think I like Souls-likes because I think they're probably too hard for my level of preference for games. But people seem to like this game, and whatever, maybe I should try it. And I did not end up trying it. And that was probably for the best, but it was definitely something that was tempting. But co-op of a game like that sounds much, much better.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it in terms of every time I talk about experiencing these kinds of things, I wonder if I would love Souls-like games. Elden Ring and the Elden Ring's a little different in that there's a lot more open worldy and RPG stuff, and I'm not sure I would like that so much. But a Dark Souls, right? I've always been afraid of a Dark Souls. But when I talk about learning a boss, right? And when I say learning a boss, I can talk about Remnant 2, but in the same breath, right? Go back and listen to some of our older episodes where I talk about learning the World of Warcraft raid boss fights, right? And it's all about telegraphing and what's coming next and watching your timers and learning the boss fight. It's a very similar kind of vibe and feel and experimentation and learning. And I really enjoy that. So I wonder if I should go back and play some Dark Souls. But that happens within Remnant 2. And there's another element that maybe we can talk about in terms of how the worlds work and how the game progresses and how, you're not just experiencing kind of one art or setting or whatever. You're experiencing a lot of different things. So this kind of experimentation, this relearning, this starting over fresh happens a couple of times throughout the game, and it's kept it really nice and fresh as I'm playing through it.
Yeah, it sounds like you definitely should give one of the Souls proper games a try. I think you would like the challenge. I think I would get frustrated, but
I agree with you that Elden Ring was probably a bad idea for you.
I think so. I mean, I was I don't know. Part of it is Final Fantasy 16, I'm going to play that at some point, and it's going to have this action combat, and maybe I should get better at paying attention to this kind of, action combat-y stuff. But I tried to play, I think, the original Demon Souls or something, or Demon Souls 2 maybe on the PS3, and I think I made it 15 minutes. And it was just not fun. I died to a thing I didn't understand and then just put the game down.
Did you the closest thing that I think that I could compare this to, did you fight any of the Valkyries in either of the God of Wars?
Oh yeah, I did a couple of them. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
It was all right. I mean, I succeeded at them because I was probably playing on a pretty easy difficulty. But it was kind of fun. Yeah, I liked it.
Did you die? Were they tough fights? Did you have to try multiple times and kind of learn their attacks and what you could block and what you had to dodge and all of that?
I think I tried one of them 3 or 4 times before I got it. Yeah.
That is every single fight in Remnant 2 and and in Dark Souls and Elden Ring. Like that experimentation, learning, dying, repeat is the whole game.
Yeah, I think I'm not that interested in that mechanical of a game at this point. Is probably the reality of it, if I'm being honest with myself.
Yeah, I don't know that I would recommend Remnant 2 to you. I wouldn't recommend Elden Ring to you. I don't know that I would recommend a Dark Souls to myself. I maybe experiment with that a little bit, but Remnant 2, right? Very like I said at the beginning, very, very punishing. The interesting thing that I'm upset that you would not get to experience in Remnant 2 if you weren't to play it, and you could watch it, right, and get it from the watching experience. But Remnant 2 does this really interesting thing from a story perspective. The basis of the story, the foundation, and this isn't a spoiler, it's in every trailer, right? The foundation of the story is that there are these world stones that can teleport you from where you are to another location, or more importantly, another world. And each of the worlds is infected by, something that you're fighting against, right? It's the main thing, whatever. But like all of these worlds are connected via these world stones, and you essentially carry out a mini campaign in each world that you go to, in order to kind of progress the overall story, right? Very, very, very common kind of storytelling tactic in a lot of games that are like this. However, the worlds are somewhat procedurally generated, and the order in which you go to the worlds is not the same for everyone. So what that means is when I play the game and I get my first mission, I go to my first world, totally random, which like version of that world I spawn into, right? And like story within that world I get a little bit procedurally generated, and which world I got in the first place, totally random, or at least semi-random, right? Depending on, how they kind of balance or what they put forth, right? So I was playing through, I got a certain story, a certain world. I'm playing through with a friend. He got a different first world, a different story. We go, we finish each of our first worlds. We then go to my friend's second world, which is the same world. It looks very similar to the one I got, but a totally different story. I'm like, I understand, like, we spawned in and I was like, I understand who they're talking about. And I understand kind of the names and the species that they're like referring to, but this is not the story I had. This is not the objective I had on this world. So it's been very, very interesting to kind of see that play out within the game. I'm not sure I like it yet. I'm not sure I'm totally tied down to it, but it has been kind of a very interesting thought experiment to work through and kind of experience as we're playing through, particularly with friends.
That's really weird. I mean, it's cool, but it's weird. How do you balance a story? Yeah, that's that dynamic. I mean, not balance, but you know what I mean? Like tell a story through that level of dynamism.
Yeah, I think they can do it a little bit. I mean, again, getting back, they can do it a little bit because each world is essentially a mini campaign in and of itself.
Oh, so they're self-contained. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like episodic, right? It's a self-contained story, but then the item that you get or the thing that drops at the end of the dungeon is kind of the meta story, right? It's the MacGuffin for the meta story.
Okay. Yep.
But the whole story within the world leading up to that is totally disconnected. It doesn't matter at all, right? Or it does matter, but it's disconnected from the meta kind of objective going on. So you can kind of mix and match them and put them in different orders. It's interesting. It's very, very cool. But I remember you talking about like Tears of the Kingdom, right? And you can always talk about this kind of shared experience that everyone was having. Mm-hmm. This is exactly the opposite, right? It's generating conversation. It's generating this kind of talk and experimentation and like questioning on like, oh, what was your first world? Oh, what was your first world? And because we all have completely different experiences. But it's generating this same kind of like camaraderie in that like we all want to know what everyone's first world was and how we did. And did you like that boss? And the other thing that I'm learning is even though you have the same world and the same story, you might have a different end boss, right? So like it's so different for everyone. And it's been really cool.
Well, it doesn't really sound like my kind of thing, but I am very glad that you are enjoying it.
Yeah. If you like Souls-likes, if you like third-person shooters, Remnant 2, I don't think it's going to be game of the year, but I do think it's going to be one of those like hot games for a while. I think it's going to, it's the story-based third-person Souls-like game of the summer, maybe. That's a good way of saying it. Hit me up if you want to play. I would play. It's more fun with people. You can play solo, but it's more fun with people. I did want to do a quick kind of, I guess this is a little late for follow-up because we're at the end, nearing the end of the show. But we did talk about Guild Wars 2 and the expansion Secrets of the Obscure coming out. It got announced a couple days ago as we're recording this that Zoja, the character Zoja, is back. And if you remember from your Guild Wars 2 history class, the original character Zoja was in the original story and in Heart of the Thorns, voiced by Felicia Day. So we had this really interesting couple of days where everyone was like, oh, Zoja's coming back. Does that mean Felicia Day is coming back too? And then ArenaNet has just put the pedal to the metal on the marketing campaign that Felicia Day is back. It is very exciting. A lot of people are really happy. I like Felicia Day. I think she's a lot of fun. The character Zoja, voiced by Felicia Day, is very fun and very interesting. I'm glad to have that character back. I'm glad to kind of see where it's going. I would say I'm not as into Zoja as everyone else. I think a lot of people have a very deep kind of like and love for Zoja and that character. I would say I generally remember Zoja. I remember it as a fun kind of snarky kind of character, and I'm glad that, and Felicia Day does a very good job with it. I'm glad that she's back. I'm glad, and I don't know if you've seen it, but the marketing push behind it, like Felicia Day doing stuff on her Twitter and her Instagram, and like the YouTube videos coming out and the commercials coming out of like showing her behind the scenes and doing recordings for Zoja. It's been really, really fun to kind of see that all come together.
Yeah, I watched the one video of that I think you posted somewhere of Felicia Day, doing her thing, and I remember that character. Like I remember her voicing a character in Guild Wars. I don't remember exactly what happened, but that's just me. But this definitely was kind of an inducement to be like, okay, all right, this is going to be as cooler, because of this. And I do like her as a voice actress, and I like, the character. So it does increase my interest in this expansion, which I was probably already going to get anyway, as we talked previously. But now it's much more of like I would do this maybe even if Jason wasn't talking about it all the time.
I have been talking about it a lot. I'm really happy. We've talked about it on this show before that ArenaNet is not known for its marketing prowess. And just what they've been doing with this and Felicia Day and whether she's acting or not, she seems very excited about being back and being able to play this part again. And it's been a very positive, fun, warm, fuzzy, rallying thing for Guild Wars 2. And just wanted to point it out, call it out, remind everyone that the expansion's coming out, and that's where I'll be on August 22nd.
I'll probably be there with you.
Can we veer off course just for a second for this final topic?
Sure. Yeah. Let's chart a course.
This is our podcast, and we can do what we want. And I just wanted to take a moment to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This is a show that you and I and some others watch together, and it has done wonderful things for TV, in my opinion.
For Jason's opinion of TV, I think is maybe the right phrasing.
I'm hoping that it does more than just, my opinions. I'm hoping that the show is doing, I don't know. I'm hoping that the show is doing really well and that people see how shows should work and like what people are actually looking for. And I wanted to just kind of point out that just how much and I think our group that watches it together is enjoying Strange New Worlds and the return to like Star Trek episodic, like mostly episodic, storylines and adventures and like real character connection and development. And, it's been so hard with, some of the recent Trek shows and Discovery and the first couple seasons of Picard. It's been so hard to like really, really have fun and rally around Star Trek. We do, right? Because it's a Star Trek show. We have to watch it. But Strange New Worlds has been an absolute freaking delight to watch every week. And if you're not watching it, please give it a try. The first season's great. The second season, in my opinion, is even better. I'm standing up here on my soapbox because I have at least a couple listeners that listen to this. And I want to just tell everyone that listens to this, go watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds because it is excellent, excellent TV and it deserves to be a winning TV show.
I will agree with you there. I do think it's a slightly bit funny that you're talking about, Star Trek and we have to watch all the Star Trek shows because I think it was not your idea to watch all the Star Trek shows. But that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm glad that you're here and I'm glad that we're watching it. And that's great. I agree with you that Strange New Worlds is the best Star Trek TV show on television right now. And maybe ever, possibly, ?
Yeah. I haven't seen all the older stuff, right? I don't know that, but like everyone tells me that it brings the best of all of the old shows into this show. So like just by that and the feelings that it's given me, I'm going to say it's the best Star Trek show, but you have to take my opinion with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen, probably half to 2/3 of Voyager and probably half to 2/3 of The Next Generation, which both, by the way, are like 7-season, 20-episode season shows. So there's a lot of them. And this one is much more kind of in our current era of like, peak TV kind of whatever 10-episode seasons. It's in that kind of style now. But it is great. It is taking all of the best pieces of all of the best Star Trek episodes and themes and tropes and everything and putting a little bit of a modern spin on them. But with characters, some characters that some characters that you don't. And it is great. So I would echo Jason's kind of endorsement and advisement to watch it. And also they have a musical episode coming out, I think, this week. So you've got that to look forward to if you're just getting started.
I am so excited. I can barely contain myself.
While we're talking about Star Trek, though, another show that we couldn't, not mention is Star Trek Lower Decks, which is an adult animation. I mean, not adult like that, but you know what I mean? Like it's a, animation Star Trek that's kind of set in the Next Generation era. Very funny, lots of more kind of, it is made for adults. It's not terrible for kids, but they won't get most of it. So, highly recommend Star Trek Lower Decks. And there even was a little bit of a Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover. So if you make it through, half of each of these shows, you should definitely get to that crossover.
Especially if you are a like long-term Star Trek fan, because Lower Decks does. It is the in-universe parody, right? Like it's Lower Decks about like, the ensigns of Starfleet, right? Like the lower decks of a starship. And, they're making fun of everything that everyone always makes fun of in Star Trek, but it's in universe, right? Like it's an actual Star Trek show, and it just adds that layer of funny to it. But it is so much better, right? I've seen a little bit of Star Trek. Chris has seen a little bit more of Star Trek. And then we have a friend that has seen a ton of Star Trek, right? Knows all of the Star Trek. There are so many references in Lower Decks to all of the Star Treks, right? The original series and the Next Generation and everything kind of in, all the way up to Lower Decks getting produced. And it is so fun to kind of catch what I catch and then learn about everything else that someone that is a huge Star Trek fan catches. He will laugh. And this is my favorite part, where I'm sitting there and they say something that I know is a reference just by the way they say it or the context. And I'll understand that it's a reference and I'll be like, oh, that must be a reference to something. And our friend that we watch Star Trek Lower Decks with will die laughing. He will just break out laughing, and we'll have to wait until after the episode for him to go back and explain and like give us the reference to what episode of what they were talking about. But it's always so much fun to watch with someone that's a big Star Trek fan. It's a great show. It's very smart. It's very clever, and it's such a good, lighthearted, but also genuine animated show in the Star Trek universe. Okay, well, it's our show, so we get to talk about what we want, and I chose to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds this week. But if you join our Discord, you can talk about what you want to talk about. See what I did there?
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, you can join our Discord and talk about what you want to talk about. Let us know. Get in contact with us. Steer the conversation maybe a little bit. Let me know if you're playing Guild Wars 2 or Remnant, or if you want to play some Exoprimal.
Hey.
Yeah. You can get there by going to discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find our older episodes or read our show notes where we have links to some of these things, you can visit our website at pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying the show, we would love if you could share it with some others that might enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Jason, this would normally be the part where we might talk about something other than games because it's the post show. But since we did that in the show, now I want to talk about some more games. I know that you don't really follow mobile games. We had a whole episode about this at some point. But I just wanted to make a note that Apple Arcade is killing it right now. Like in the last 3 months, they are just firing on all cylinders.
I've heard this. I don't remember where I read this, but someone, some article or opinion or YouTube video or something has said something very similar. And I'm now hearing it from you. So this is not the first time I've heard that like Apple Arcade is just doing a heck of a job lately. And I'm happy to see that you think the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I say it is there's been a couple of really good games that have come to Apple Arcade in the last, like I said, like month or two that are just really, they're just good games. So for one, Slay the Spire Plus. So Slay the Spire has been on the App Store for a while. And you could buy it for, I don't know, $10 or whatever. Longtime listeners to the show will know that I really like Slay the Spire. But this is Slay the Spire and you can play it on an iPad or a phone. It is great. Like it's the same game, right? It's a roguelike deck builder. It's turn-based, so it's nice and easy to pick up and put down, and you can just, I'm waiting in line for something. Let me, play a couple of hands or whatever. Very easy, very good in that regard. The game's not easy, but it's easy to play. So love that and would highly recommend if you have access to Apple Arcade and you haven't gotten Slay the Spire and you want to try it. This is a great way to give it a try.
I like it. It's a good game. I echo a lot of what Chris said. But Chris, I'm gonna cheat and look at the show notes and say that I am much more interested in what you're going to talk about next.
Okay. Well, before I let you get there, I'm going to go to something else. There's another game that is just so random that the internet was very excited about that I didn't really get the hype for and still kind of don't. A game called Ridiculous Fishing. EX?
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. No.
I thought you
got it all wrong. I want to talk about the fishing game. I've already downloaded it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Ridiculous Fishing is a game where you play as just a fisherman in a boat, and it's kind of a multifaceted game where so you cast your line, right? Imagine fishing, right? And you throw the line, and then the little sinker, I guess, I don't know, the line goes down, right? I don't know, I don't fish. I do fish, but I don't, only in video games. So on the one side, you are sending the line down, and in that case, you have to avoid all the fish that you can. And then the first fish that you touch basically switches the game from going deeper and deeper into the ocean or whatever you want to say, to then wanting to catch as many fish as you can. So then, and the way that this game is played, it's a very old school kind of phone game because it's played by tilting the device left and right. So it's got a little bit of that like tactile engagement to it. So the idea is you go as deep as you can, and then on the way back up, you catch as many fish as you can, and they all just kind of attach to your line as in this ridiculous way. The game's called Ridiculous Fishing for a reason. And then once you get all of the fish, they come to the surface, they fly out of the water, they go into the sky, and then you have to shoot them out of the air in order to get the points. So you can have different guns and stuff, whatever, but like you tap, touch on the screen to shoot at these fish, and then there's like jellyfish, and if you hit the jellyfish, they're negative points, and if you hit the money or whatever, and then if you hit all the other fish, you hit them. Yeah. Anyway, what?
It becomes Fruit Ninja.
It becomes kind of like Fruit Ninja, except that it's not.
It becomes
like,
Bird Hunt.
Yeah, Duck Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I can confirm everything you just said because I am currently playing it. And I want you to know that as you were talking, I was playing around.
Yes.
Sorry, I was still playing on the side. I was playing around, and as you're describing, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what's happening. That's what's happening." And I was about, maybe like 5 seconds ahead of you as you were explaining it, and all of a sudden, all of the fish flew into the sky, and I was like, "Why am I shooting them now? What happened? Why? That's not a fishing game." And then you go, and then they fly into the sky, and you start shooting them. I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what happened, but why?" And the answer is because it's ridiculous. Oh man.
So there's also a whole meta system. That was perfect. There's a whole meta system where you can get upgrades and stuff, so you can like be like, oh, the first time you hit fish, it doesn't it doesn't send you on the up path instead of the down path. So and then there's like skips where you can get like once you get a certain depth, you can buy a skip with a certain amount of money and whatever. It's very cool. It's very it's got a little meta progression to it. Definitely, like I said, an old school phone game, and you play it in short sessions and whatever. But that's another one that's good. It's on Apple Arcade.
It's kind of hard.
Yes, it is kind of hard. So since I think we've lost Jason, I'm going to talk about the third thing I wanted to talk about, which is Mini Motorways, which is also on Apple Arcade, is celebrating, well, not them, but the company is celebrating 10 years of kind of the Mini franchise. So they started out with Mini Metro, which I think we've talked about before. And then they came out with Mini Motorways, which is like a game where you build roads essentially in a city. And they've added trains to Mini Motorways, like as a crossover from Mini Metro, which is basically just an obstacle that you have to deal with. So like you can build roads over the train tracks, but then whenever the train comes, the cars stop. So it just creates another little layer of stress to your city. It is a very fun game. It's great to play on an iPad because it's very tactile because you can touch the screen to draw the roads. But also, if you have Apple Arcade, I think it's available on the Mac too. So you could play it on a computer. But I highly recommend playing it on an iPad. And the Mini Motorways update it's very fun. So that's my third kind of Apple Arcade plug, is go for Mini Motorways.
I've played Mini Motorways before. It's okay. It's never held out for a long time for me. Sorry, I'm still shooting fish in the sky.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay, I'm putting it down. It's actually kind of fun. Mini Motorways, I don't. It's one of those games that you always lose, right? Like there's never a win condition. Mm-hmm. Stress and then I tend to like those games. They just don't tend to have a lot of staying power with me because I want to be able to win. I want to be able to win and then move on. And it's just that's not how it works. I do like Mini Motorways. I think it's a really kind of clever game. I just wish there was a non-endless mode. And I think it would be a lot more fun for me.
What do you mean a non-endless? Because they literally added a mode called Endless that's different than the regular game.
I want a mode that once you achieve the objective, the round is over.
Oh, you want to? Yeah, okay. So you want an objective-based game,
right? And sure, make it hard, right? You can keep the stress level there, But like, I want the goal to be to design an efficient city with motorways, not to stress the city out to its limit and lose.
I see. They do have leaderboards now and like daily and weekly challenges, which do help with some of that, but where they just put some modifiers on it and then have you play. But I see what you mean. That's still not the same thing.
No, I want to play City Skylines, just the road edition, where when I'm done and it's like, oh my gosh, you've built an amazing city. Good job. Now go into Los Angeles and build the roadways over there. And, you know, once you get 1,000 cars successfully to their destination, you win. And then you go on to the next one. You go on to the next one. And like, I don't know. I want that. I want that endorphin hit. I want that happy juice for winning. And I think it would be a better game. However, trains are exciting.
I mean, yeah. The way I think of that is like I put 1,000 like points as my kind of benchmark in my head, and also the game puts 1,000 as kind of the marker for unlocking challenge modes for any given city. Challenge modes being where you have specific modifiers, and then you have to try to do the best you can with those, which does kind of mix it up a little bit and keep it fresh. But I just kind of have this benchmark of like, oh man, a good run for me is if I get at least 1,000. And if I don't do that, then I'm like, okay, that wasn't a great run. And then try again.
I just got the chainsaw lure in Ridiculous Fishing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. I think we should wrap this up so that Jason can go fish some more.
If only I liked fishing in Guild Wars 2.
If only. It's pretty fun. Take it from me. A cod swimming amongst mere minnows.
I still don't understand why you have to shoot them.
I mean, I don't really know.
Like, I'm not complaining about it. I just don't understand.